Hello Curious and welcome back. When it comes to the music of John Lennon, it is a timeless classic. When the pandemic broke out, people tried to uplift each other by singing Imagine, such as the famous medley of celebrities singing it, including Gal Gadot, Will Ferrell and Natalie Portman, to name a few. And right now, in light of the war in Ukraine, for the first time ever, the late singer's son Julian has recorded a cover of the song. This had once again brought attention to the two sons of the singer, and many had wondered just what kind of a relationship the two half-brothers have. Many had brought up the fact that while the oldest said he'd never sing Imagine, he has now gone back on his words. But why was that? What kind of a relationship did the two men have with their late father? Did that affect relations between Lennon's sons? And what have their lives been like living in the shadows of their father? Stay with us until the very end to find out all about Julian and Sean, but before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications so that you don't miss any of our future videos. Most recently, Julian Lennon had surprised fans of his father when he released his cover of Imagine. The song was performed as part of Global Citizen's social media rally, Stand Up for Ukraine, which is working to raise money for the country in light of the war with Russia. And while some might think that the 59-year-old performing his father's song shouldn't be something newsworthy, there is one reason it had many people talking. And that is because this was the first time ever that John's eldest son had performed the song, as previously he vowed to never sing Imagine. Posting the video to his Instagram, he explained the reason why he made the initial vow and why now he made an exception to break it. And that was the war in Ukraine. In the post he wrote, "I had always said that the only time I would ever consider singing Imagine would be if it was the end of the world. However, now he decided to do it because of the war in Ukraine, which he described as an unimaginable tragedy, to which he felt compelled to respond to in the most significant way that he could." But given his vow, many had wondered if there was more to that, and if it was also a reflection on the relationship that Julian had with his father. As some of you might know, the 59-year-old is also a musician just like his father. He was the son of John Lennon and his first wife Cynthia. The two had wed in August 1962, but ended up separating 6 years later when Julian was around 5 years old. The following year, after divorcing his first wife, the former Beatles member went on to marry Yoko Ono, and the two had a son, Sean, born in 1975. It was after his younger brother's birth that Julian had some memories of his father that were not necessarily good. It revolved around something that the singer said in a 1980s Playboy interview, as well as allegedly to his son's face. When he was asked about his children, he had commented that 90% of the people on the planet, especially those in the West, were born out of a bottle of whiskey on a Saturday night and there was no intent on having children. He then went on to say that 90% of people were accidents, which included himself and Julian. But he also went on to add that, unlike his oldest child, Sean was planned. Though in the same interview he also stated that this is where the difference ended and that he did not see Julian any less of a child. Though this is also something that he had openly told his son, as per a report from the Irish Times, that John once told his son, "Sean was a product of love, you were a product of a bottle of whiskey." When it came to speaking of his sons, Lennon was always fond of his son with Yoko Ono and had even written songs about him. In his will, he had left all of his estate to his wife and youngest son, allegedly cutting Julian out of his will entirely. Despite the fact that an estimated $130,000 trust fund was set up by the Imagine singer, it was meant to be shared between both of his sons. As a result, in 1996, John's oldest son had taken his stepmother to court to gain some of his father's assets. The exact sum was settled, and at the time the media had reported that it was $27 million. However, Julian had never confirmed what the exact agreement or the amount of money had been. Over the years, both sons had honoured their father. They had both spoken about him in interviews, but at times they both had completely different things to say. On his part, Sean had always spoken positive things about his father and had paid tribute to him in various different ways. For example, to honour what would have been John's 80th birthday in 2020, Ono Lennon had shared a cover of his 1970s song Isolation on his YouTube channel. Back in 2018, he had also joined Miley Cyrus and Mark Ronson on SNL to perform his parents' song Happy Christmas, War is Over. In interviews, he would often call his late father a one-of-a-kind man and talk fondly about the time he got to spend with him before his life was taken in 1980. He had also talked about how his father and mother had influenced his own music career. After all, they were the ones to kickstart it, as his musical debut came at age 5 when he recited a story on his mother's 1981 album, Season of Glass. His own solo album, titled Into the Sun, was released in 1998. Over the years, he would release more albums and EPs and collaborate with other artists, such as forming a band called the Claypool-Lennon Delirium, with Primus's leader vocalist and bassist Les Claypool, with their latest album having been released in 2019. As for his personal life, the 46-year-old has been in a long-term relationship with singer-model Charlotte Kemp Moore. The pair met in 2005, but given that at the time he was 29 and she was 17, their relationship did not start until much later, though the exact time has never been specified. Together, the two have worked on many different projects and even created a label together called Chimera Music, to which his mother is signed. Now, when it comes to Julian, while he had always upheld his father's memory, he did not necessarily always speak positively about him. Following John's passing in 1980, the eldest of the Lennon boys would openly voice his anger and resentment towards him. In one interview, he had said that he never wanted to know the truth with regard to how his father felt about him. He stated that he knew about the negative things, such as the whiskey bottle comment, which made him question if there was ever love in that. In the same interview, he had also stated that he hung out with former Beatles member Paul McCartney more than he did with his own dad, which means that there are probably more pictures of the two of them together than of him and his dad. When he was 37, Julian had opened up about the strain of living in his father's shadow, also given that he too is a musician with several albums of his own. Speaking in an interview, he said that life is difficult enough as it is, especially when trying to find one's identity, which is why living in the shadow of someone like John makes it harder, as in a way, it feels like you are not allowed to be yourself. In a 2000 post on his website, he had also opened up about what he thought their relationship would look like should his dad have still been alive. And he wrote, "I guess it would have depended on whether he was John Lennon, dad, or Sean Ono Lennon, manipulated soul. When it comes to Yoko, it seems that Julian still harbors some negative feelings, as while the two of them have a cordial relationship, it has been noted that it does not go past basic pleasantries. Though time heals things, it seems. Come 2009, Julian would speak of his dad on a bit of a more positive note. He noted that in the mid-70s they got on a lot better than they did before and that they laughed a lot. In a CBS interview that very same year, Lennon had opened up about how music had been like therapy to him. The time that passed had made him realize that if he continued to feel the anger and bitterness towards his father, it would have been a constant cloud hanging above his head. He noted that recording his song, titled Lucy, which was for the same girl that the hit Beatles song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds was written about, it felt right to fulfill the circle. Forgive Dad, put the pain, anger and bitterness in the past and focus and appreciate the good things. This allowed him to actually embrace not only his dad, but also the Beatles. Where his career was concerned, just like his father and half-brother, Julian turned down the career path as a musician. His debut album, Velotal, was released in 1984, which earned him a nomination for the Grammy Award for Best New Artist in 1985. After that, he would go on to release several more albums and work on them with different artists, including former Beatle George Harrison. But besides music, Julian had also worked on several documentaries, such as Whale Dreamers, about an Aboriginal tribe in Australia and its special relationship to whales. On top of this, he had also turned to books. In 2010, he published a book about his collection of Beatles memorabilia, and in 2017, he turned to children's books. The New York Times best-selling trilogy featured the books Touch the Earth, Heal the Earth, and Love the Earth, and according to media reports, it became a way that allowed him to connect with his past after the tumultuous childhood relationship with John. Those past years had also affected his personal life. Julian had never married or had children, and as of the making of this video, it is not known if he is in a relationship with anyone. The reason for making such a decision in his life was his own relationship with his father, which had discouraged him from doing so. In 2011, he had said that unlike his father, he wanted to be mature enough to be able to cope with fatherhood, stating that John was young and didn't know what the hell he was doing. But now, how did this affect the relationship between the two half-brothers? Surely, such a divide and difference in experiences of their father would have meant that there was some tension between them, but it seems that it is not the case. In the past, the two men had posted about each other on social media, be it birthday wishes or comments on another's ongoing projects, and they had always spoken highly of each other. In a 2019 interview with SiriusXM, Julian had praised his younger half-brother's talent as a musician and commented that seeing his future projects excites him. He also noted that the two had talked about working on something together, though for the time being there has been no more information with regards to those plans. So as you can see, Curious, despite having very different relationships with their dad, the two brothers are very close and over the years, in their own ways, have always honoured John Lennon. But what are your thoughts on Julian's cover of Imagine? Do you think that he should release more covers of his dad's songs? Have you listened to his or Sean's music in the past? And would you be interested if they made music together? Let us know in your comments below, and as always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.